Hey guys, Aaron Belford here. Today, we're gonna go out to a biker coffee bar. We're gonna visit with my buddy DJ Matty Matt. We're gonna talk about digital versus analog, our creative processes, and the industry in general. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It's gonna run a little bit longer, but if you stick with it, at the end, we got more insight to my theory of photography. So I hope you guys enjoy. Bow! Got it! All right, cool. First things first, let's introduce yourself to the camera and stuff like that.
All right.
Because you're on.
You want DJ name or you want just me?
I want DJ name. We're talking here with DJ Matty Matt.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
I am DJ Matty Matt. I'm a locally based DJ in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I DJ for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota Wild, Minnesota Twins.
Tons. What intrigues you about the new music that's coming out now?
I think the nice part about the hip hop today is the Kendrick Lamar's, the Childish Gambino.
Kodiak Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think the nice part is that it's getting a voice again. It didn't have a voice for a few years. I feel like it was more of about bottle popping and playing. And hip hop's always been about that, the image and whatnot. But I feel like today it has more of a voice and more of a message with the political climate and society's climate in this day and age. And I like that. And that's what hip hop's roots was the message.
So, the stuff that you play in the club and the stuff you like working on at home, is that the same? Or is it like...
The stuff I'm playing out in the clubs,
Yeah.
I rarely listen to in my downtime. When I'm at home, it's more funk, classic, jams like James Brown.
Yeah.
It's more...
So why? What is it?
Like, I'm more of a just chill kind of... Because it's like, I don't like to take my work home with me in a way, kind of thing. I mean, obviously I devote my time at my home with the music that I have to do, but at the same time I take time to just kind of listen to the music that's more low-key, chill, just not so in your face and crazy.
It's kind of the same with me where I love my Annie Leibovitz, I love my... I'm trying to think of some of the other guys I really like. Zach Aries. The people that are gonna, Jeremy Cowart. These are photographers that really go experimental in the stuff that they're doing. I mean, Annie's great because when she does photos and portraits and stuff like that, she really doesn't want what the subject wants. She doesn't want to make the person look good. She wants to make the person look real. She wants to tell a story with it, Right. And I feel the same way. And a lot of times I know when I'm doing commercial shoots and stuff like that, I've got to take my vision and bring it down to like an 8 or a 7, because that 8-7 area right in there is where everyone starts feeling comfortable, where they feel a little bit experimental, and it makes them feel a little bit edgy, but it doesn't bring them outside their comfort zone.
Yep, that's the open format DJ. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, for example, working this year with the Minnesota Twins, we did on-field DJ for the first time ever. As far as I'm aware, besides the All-Star game, there's never been an on-field DJ at a game, an actual regular season game. So that was a first for this year. I was brought in to do that. And that was basically playing music for the guys as they did batting practice, but also an hour before the game, as doors open, as people are walking in, you're playing music. And that music needs to be what I call cookie cutter, basically your Bon Jovis, your the stuff that everybody is comfortable with, like wedding music.
Let me push you on that one a little bit more. If you think about that style of performance, you're kind of setting the stage. You're developing the ambiance for the game that's gonna start out and stuff like that. Don't you kind of feel like maybe it's a little bit on you to push it a little bit more, to try to think about, okay, so how are these songs going to emotionally affect people, to get them in the right state of mind? Almost like, how is this a primer to open people up to get into the game?
It's kind of the same kind of thing. get your feet wet, get people kind of just comfortable, and then you slowly just build it up to what you think's gonna amp the crowd up and hype them up and get them ready for it. I have a philosophy of just basically for every 2 of your tracks, I'm gonna play one of mine that I think's gonna work, so that there's a yin and yang kind of thing, like we'll work together kind of thing, but I'm still gonna push my thought process onto you and kind of be like, all right, here's your Bon Jovi, here's your Journey, Don't Stop Believing, but then here's this out there track that's very few people might know, and but it's still gonna allow me to be artistic and improvise and be in the moment and feel my artistic integrity and put that onto the stage, if you will.
Yeah, so we were explaining a little bit more about how we work with our editing processes and stuff like that. It seems like we have a very, very similar process when it comes to, I guess, sorting out music and stuff like that. So, I mean, my process is when I'm editing photos down from like 3,000 down to like 100, I go through an editing system, and that editing system is basically where I go through all the photos and give 1 star to anything that's usable. I give 2 stars to something that's a little bit better, and then so on and so forth until the 5 stars is probably only about 50 to 100 of them out of 3,000. And I mean, so explain to us how you use your star system.
Yeah, so the star system, like I was mentioning earlier, is basically the 1 star is going to be your early opening night track. It might work. It's just going to be a kind of a vibe track. It's not really anything that's going to move the floor or get people on the floor. All the way up to 2 to 3 stars, I'm starting to build the vibe. I'm starting to kind of like, all right, this song's going to set more of a tone, set more of a presence in the room. And then obviously, the 3 to 4 star range, I'm starting to get into the set. I'm starting to get, people on the dance floor, and I know that's going to start working and getting the flow going even bigger. And then that 5-star track is a, banger at, 12:30, 12:45, 1 o'clock in the morning when that dance floor is packed, it's moving, you got people just loving everything, and you drop that track and everyone's going to just lose their shit and go crazy.
So you just got these set up in like bins or something like that, where
it's just I sort everything by month, so whatever music I download for the month goes into that crate in the program, and out of that crate I'll have maybe 300, 400, 500 tracks in a month that I'll download, and each one of those gets a star ranking from 1 to 5, and it works that way, and then you just develop a knowledge of your musical library and where to go, when to go there, and biggest thing is I never prep a set. You can't prep a set, especially as an open format DJ, because you don't know what the room's going to be like that night. You don't know how it's going to vibe. You might, in earlier parts of my career, I would prep a set, and I'd get to the club and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna kill. This is gonna be amazing. And then all of a sudden, you start getting into it, and people are standing around with their drinks in their hand, just looking at you like you're an idiot. So you're going, all right, this isn't working as well as I thought. So you got to switch it up. So I never prep sets anymore. It's just the knowledge of working so many events and gigs over the years, and just knowing how to get a room started, and then how to make that roller coaster ride. And how to just,
it sounds like back in the day in the Marines and stuff like that, we always used to have a saying that everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face, and then it just goes to shit after that. And I have the same feeling when it comes down to like photo shoots and stuff like that. And I'll come out and I'll make a shot list, and I'll have different photos in there for the stuff that I want to try to achieve and stuff like that. And what I've kind of realized that never ever comes to fruition. I never ever follow something like that, because if I do, I totally hate the photos after I get done. And usually nowadays, I'll still go through the planning process. I make myself a production binder. I have all the photos and stuff. I know exactly what I want to get, and I go over that production binder over and over again. But I end up memorizing it through the creation of that production binder. And then it started out totally accidentally. I'd always forget the production binder at home. And I'd be like, fuck, we gotta wing it. But now it's gotten to the point where I just leave it at home. Okay, so you're gonna get your one photo. At least I was gonna do one photo.
Jesus, look at the lens on that.
So we're gonna pull out the 1DX with the 50. And I'll go 2.0. We're gonna give you a fun one here.
Okay.
We'll do.
Do you want the glamour shots?
Yeah, do that. Keep that right there. No, do the.
You want the glamour shot?
Yeah. I have this thing all set up for action right now, and I'm like, I just want to make sure I got the cameras in there and stuff like that too. Oh, maybe I'll just do that. Blow this thing out. I never ever shoot over an 8.0.
Okay.
Because the human eye cannot see beyond an 8.0. It physically can't do it. So a lot of photographers they're scared of blowing focus. So what they'll do is they will go out to like f11, which will give you a really small aperture.
Yep.
So you need a lot of light for that. So it's usually outdoor sports photographers, but you'll get a long depth of field. So that way you can be sure that your subject's going to be in focus.
Gotcha.
The problem with that is that the brain subconsciously will see that as kind of wonky because it's not true to form. And it won't give you that full emotional impact of the photo where when I say like shoot the way the human eye sees and compose the way the human body naturally ingests visual stimuli, it's using a 50 millimeter, which the 50 millimeter is like the perfect lens because it's the exact aspect ratio of, or the exact physical makeup of like the human eye. So it's going to see most naturally. Either that or a 35 on a crop frame sensor. And then only working between technically really f2.0 to f8.0 as far as your aperture. So like 2.0 would be like if you're really excited, you had a whole bunch of drugs in your system, a dump of adrenaline, stuff like that. We'll blast that iris open and it'll just make you look like you got these huge iris, or like just all black. That gives you that really shallow depth of field. It gives you that gooey kind of like hazy, disoriented feel. That's what you get when you get that massive dump of adrenaline. It also works slightly different too. If it's adrenaline that you're getting instead of dopamine or instead of like any other kind of drugs, you get a reduced cone of visibility, what I call the cone of visual acuity. So basically what's actually in focus is going to be very small in the center of the vision. And then if you're in a very sedated, kind of calm state, you'll be at an 8.0. But like I said, anything beyond that will have way too much in focus. What ends up happening is it confuses the human brain because it's too much information for the brain to process at once. Because like I said before, the brain's a cognitive miser when it comes to the amount of energy that it wants to expend on trying to figure something out. So it's got to do it really fast. So that's why we work on patterns all the time. You know,
Right.
If I walk down this alley and a cat attacked me, I'm not going to walk down that alley again because I don't want to get attacked by the cat. We're going to remember that, and that's how we survive and proliferate as our species. So it's the same way when it comes to like having a whole bunch in focus and being able to see all this. It's great if you're going to have a super huge picture and it's going to be like a landscape picture. Then you can have these massively long depth of fields because then someone can sit back and look through everything in the picture and they understand it and they have time to take everything in. But if it's a smaller picture, if it's like a magazine style picture, then it has to be bam. You got to hit them with impact. And since I shoot action photography, it blows people's mind that I shoot all my action photography at either 1.2 to 2.8, and I rarely ever go above a 2.8. And they're like, how the hell can you focus? And it's like, well, one, you got to know the pattern. You got to know how it works. Like, I know this guy's going to be coming into frame at this point in time. I can kind of focus in this turn and know it's going to be right there. Or I can look at my camera itself and know, okay, I know that's going to be about 10 meters out there. We go and get myself set so that he's going to be generally unfocused when I start, and then I'll let the autofocus take over.
Preference, whatever you like using, I think. I mean, it's like the turntable techniques.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one. That's the one that you got to do.
You don't have to try to talk.
But I mean, that's a lot of guys in the business, basically, that's the standard, you know, if you're gonna do turntables. So.
All right, that's good enough. And because I was raised on film, like literally people are like,
Do you ever do a dark film anymore?
I don't, and I do it specifically because of the environmental reasons.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, I think the people that shoot film now, they didn't shoot film in the past.
Right.
They didn't realize how much of a laborious process it was. And the only good thing about film is it slows you down.
So here's a good thing that always gets me in the world of DJing is having DJed before the technology boom of it, basically before the laptop and an all-in-one unit DJ controller thing. And how do you, as a photographer, look at it as before the digital age to now everybody's a photographer with their iPhone or Android phone or whatever they choose?
I look at it like this, and this has been an analogy in our field for the longest time, but it's a rising tide raises all boats. The more people that are out there shooting, and shooting good photos is going to make the rest of us also look good too, because I mean technically the more people that are shooting, the more times people do like vlogs like this that talk about creativity, that talk about like photography and stuff like that. It normalizes the subject. It gets people more educated to it. So like I go really, really, really deep, like very cerebral in the way that I shoot, and a lot of people, I blow them away. They're like, whoa, I'm not really sure how to take this. But the more that I do it and the more that I deal with my clients like this, and I tell them exactly, okay, you know, in the planning process, what emotional state do you want your viewer to be in? A lot of times they're like, wait a minute, hold on, what? I'm like, what's going to trigger them to buy? What do you want them to feel? Do you want to make them angry? Do you want to make them happy? Do you want to make them sad? What do you want to make them feel? Because I can make them do that by the way that I shoot the photos.
Sure.
And the reason I can do that is because, you know, I've spent so long developing this process. Like,
you know, from what I see with the DJ technology coming in to play is great. That's fine. That's awesome. And if you can rock the decks on a controller or a drum pad, an MPC pad, whatever you have, that's awesome. Good for you, man. Like if you can rock a set and do that, that's amazing. Great. Biggest thing for me is if you got to remember where it came from, know your history first off, and just appreciate that, and don't really make a mockery of it, and just kind of appreciate what it took for that technology to come about in the business. And I mean, if you love music and it's your passion, then keep working at it, obviously. But
it all comes down to creativity is all about connections. You're making different connections between either different social references, different memories that people have, and it's about knowing, like in the DJ community, knowing your synthesizers, knowing your analog music, knowing how to marry that stuff up, knowing a cold tone to a warm tone, and bringing those together to elicit a response. But it's the combination of all those where I guess it really brings it down to when people say, you know, content is king. That is true, content is king, but if that's true, then context is God. So that means that the content that you're bringing in and letting them play together creates something greater than that. And that context being delivered in is what's making the most impact on people. Because I always tell people, whenever you create a creative work, you have to have resonance and you have to have echo. And resonance is basically how much it is able to absorb inside you, how much it resonates with you as a person. And then echo is how much you want to share that with someone else. Like it's created so much resonance in you that you want to, one, create that echo and give it back out and say, hey, you guys got to check this out.
Absolutely.
And those two come from being able to operate the equipment the way the equipment is supposed to be operated, and being able to marry up a whole bunch of stuff. Like for photography, you need to know how your camera lens is going to work. You need to know how the camera body is going to work. You need to know how your lighting is going to work. And that's just the technical aspect. Then when your subject comes into it, you need to know how to play with your subject and interact to elicit certain responses. And once you're able to get all of this together, you're able to get a great photo.
In the video.
Give a shout out right now.
So, GenerationNowDJs.com. Check it out. That's a company I do all the events for with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Twins, Vikings. Those are all through that company, and it's a fantastic company, great group of guys. We have just the most talented DJs in the Twin Cities. We do corporate events, we do weddings. I don't do weddings, but we do corporate events. All of our DJs, we're all nightclub DJs as well.
Well, I'll make sure to link all that below too.
Yeah, so check
we'll have
them
a link
out.
to that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I think on that one, we'll wrap this all up. We've talked for so long.
Yeah, I love it.
And the wife's texting in. I see her popping in on my cell phone here. Saying, when are you going to be home?
Get the
We'll do that. All right, man.
Thank you, brother.
Great talking to
Appreciate
you.
it.
Great seeing you.
Yep.